another video. In today's video, we are gonna make a super mega awesome cool delay pedal in stereo.
In stereo.
If you've been around here for a while, you remember this pedal. You might have enjoyed that video, hopefully you did, if you saw it. And we're gonna basically build it again. We're gonna build version 1.2.5.3.4 and we're gonna have a lot of fun. I have this box here. It's actually an electrical box for, you know, main circuit things for your house, but you know, it's sturdy metal. We might as well see what happens if we do something fun with it. And I have 4 more of these. So if you've seen this, you know it has 2 little circuits like this in it. And now we're gonna build a pedal using 4 of these. It's gonna be super fun, it's gonna be super amazing, it's gonna be everything you ever dreamed of in your life. No bullshit. Not hyping this up at all. I'm not joking. Okay, maybe a little bit. But hopefully you're actually gonna enjoy this. I think it's fun. I have another thing that we're gonna add, which is in this bag right here. So let's open this and see what it is. If I can. Sorry if I'm in a really weird mode today. This little passive EQ control. And we're actually going to add 2 of these. It's going to be a lot of fun. I did a video a while back that I hope you've seen. If you haven't seen it, then you'll have to try to find it. Where I built a pedal that I call the Gremlin. And in that pedal, I put the guitar circuits in to make like a tone and a volume control. And a lot of you are having issues building that thing. Sometimes I don't really understand why. Otherwise, as I'm actually pretty good at figuring it out. But anyway, I've been thinking that maybe using something like this would, you know, make it super easy to build something like that has more controls. This has more controls because it's, you know, it has 3 controls. It's a volume, a treble, and a bass. We're gonna have to check that out in another video. Making another LM board based pedal. I know it's kind of crazy, isn't it? Like, how many fuzz pedals can we make? Maybe that could be a challenge, you know? Sort of like, how many fuzz pedals are too many fuzz pedals? But anyway, that's not what we're doing in this video. In this video, we're gonna make a stereo double version of this, where we basically will be able to plug into 2 amps and play our guitar through 2 amps at the same time, have a right channel and a left channel, and a true bypass switch that controls both. So we're going to make a stereo true bypass switch, and I'm going to show you how. And we are going to also be able to control both and get like weird, you know, crazy delays like we can with this, but different on each, you know, left and right. So maybe super fast weird shit going on your left side and slow beautiful Elvish music on your right side. And then 2 controls for the EQ on either side, so maybe you want to muddy up that craziness a little bit and not muddy up that beautiful elf thing. So I've spoken enough and I need to calm down a little bit, so I'm gonna have a cup of coffee and we are gonna jump into the overhead view and just start building this. I'm gonna drill a couple of holes in this enclosure first. I'm not gonna show you how to do that because I've done a video on how to drill an enclosure. I know it's a little bit old now and some of you don't want to go back in time to the dinosaur age and, you know, watch YouTube then, but everything I say in that video is still relevant, so I'll just wait here until you're done, okay? So go back, watch the video if you need to, learn how to drill, and I'll wait here. God, that was too warm. Okay, I'm gonna have to wait for that to cool. Okay, so before we start putting the pedal together, there's a couple of things that I want to do to these little things in order to prepare them for going into the pedal. These are steps that I'm going to take. I'm not going to tell you that you have to do them, but in order to build what I'm going to build, I think that these steps are going to be good for me to take. So, you follow along the steps that you think you need, and you skip the ones that you don't care about. And the first thing that I'm going to do is, if you look at this, that edge is really nice and smooth and square, and this one is the opposite of whatever I just said. So I'm just going to take a file and I'm going to try to neaten up that and just go back and forth like this, and I'm going to do this to all 4 of them. I feel like I've gotten as close as I can to getting this nice edge on the opposite side here. We're gonna glue them together basically. So here I have a little bit of super glue, and I'm just gonna dab a small amount on this edge, just enough to cover it, but not so that it runs in all directions. And then I'm just gonna hold them together like this, trying to line them up to get a neat and nice contact. And you might ask, why am I doing this? And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to try to make everything look as neat and as nice and keep everything in order inside of the pedal. It's gonna be hard to do, and it's gonna be a bit of a mess in there. That's just sort of the way it is. But I can do what I can, a little of a mess as possible. The cleaner everything is on the inside, the easier I am gonna have. And making sure everything is going in the right place. And I'm gonna have making sure that I can make sure that if anything goes wrong, I can fix it. And so by gluing these together and making one board for each side, basically, we're gonna have a left side and we're gonna have a right side channel, and we're gonna have everything go together neatly. If anything goes wrong or if I make a mistake, I'll be able to find it and fix it, hopefully more easily than if everything was just a mess. The easiest way to find a needle in a haystack is not having a haystack, you know? That's your quote for the day. Right there. They've dried now, and they're put together. I might glue these 2 together as well to make one super big, but I'm not going to do that now. If I do, I'll tell you later, but I'm going to do some measuring and things and focus on building one. So yeah, there's a couple of things we have to do to these boards. I'm going to take these off. This is one of those things that you don't have to do, but if you have clip-on things to use, you can use those. And if you don't, you can do what I'm doing, which is wiggle them a little bit. Doubt that you can see what I'm doing because my hands are in the way, and I'm sorry for that. It's really hard to film this step, but hopefully you can see that I'm wiggling here back and forth like this, and I'm pulling this whole thing off, leaving the 2 metal legs sticking up. Because we are not going to use this clip-on thing. I'm not going to use it, at least. So after pulling these out, we are going to take this one's out, and we're going to cut these legs off. Like so. And we're going to cut this one's ends legs off. Like so. Now, I would most likely remove this as well if it wasn't so hard to remove. And also, it's a little bit fiddly and it can stay there. It doesn't really matter. It's okay. We can keep it there. Now, let's flip this over. And here you can see some connections. And first off, we're going to try to pull these out. Not because they're bad and not because we're not going to use them, but for my pedal that I'm building, I can't have them sitting like this, because it's going to be too wide. The bottom is going to stick out. I'm going to have them like this, or maybe like that. It doesn't really matter at this point. So these need to be sitting like that. It would be cool if the legs were long enough so that I could bend in that direction and just sort of flip them, you know, so that they were like this but poking up. But I don't think that's a possibility. So I'm gonna try to unsolder them and get them out. I have the sort of solder sucker where this is heated up, and it's basically a soldering iron, except the tip is hollow and I can't really show you it, but just know that it's hollow. Press it down and try to heat it up and be as gentle as possible and try to get rid of the solder. Okay, so now I've removed all of the pots from both of these boards, trying for time to only show you working on one, but obviously everything is double. I hope you understand that. And while I realized, which is probably something I did a mistake, and that is I should have removed these pots before I glued them together. It was easier that way, so do that. I should have done it that way. But anyway, I'm also going to remove the plastic on these because it's just, they're in the way. I don't want them. So I'm just wiggling them a little bit like this. Wiggle, wiggle. And then I can get something in and I can push them up like so and remove them. Okay, so after removing the pots, these little guys, we're going to attach them soon again, so don't worry. But after removing them, we're going to flip this over and we're going to start connecting some wires on the back here. And we're going to start off with these legs here. They are for the DCs here, but I don't want to have a bunch of cables running to the input jack for the DC power. So we're just going to connect these together. So it's going to be super easy. I'm just going to connect one wire here. So just a little bit of solder on my tip and then just connecting this wire here, getting everything to flow together like so, and then just pulling it straight across to the nearest, which is this one, and attaching those two together like so. And then I'm going to do the same thing here for these two. And I'm using this black wire, but that's just because it's just two connections. You see what I'm doing. It's not very confusing, or at least I hope it's not. I'm just connecting the plus to the plus and the minus to the minus and just getting them connected. So there we have it. That plus to that plus and that minus to that minus. There they are. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a wire from this board's out to this board's in. The effect is going to come in here, go out here, come back in here, and go out here. And that's basically the circuit. So if we flip this over, we can see they have two connections right there, and we have two connections right there. And the upper one is the plus. So let's see if we can add a wire there. And the left there is the plus on this side. So let's take the other end and pull it over there. Like so. And again, we'll just check and see. We can take our multimeter, we put it to continuity mode. And if we hold this plus and this plus, they should be connected. Which they are. There we have it. So basically just that little plus to that little plus, so that the pedal can go in and come out and go back in and go out here. Super easy. And now I'm just going to do the same to this one. If we take a look at the board right here, I hope you can see that right there it says R27, and it's that tiny little resistor right there that controls the speed. And so what we're going to do, or at least what I'm going to do, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, is I'm going to heat it up and try to flick it up like so. And I'm going to do it on both. Heat it up and just flick it up. You can take a plier or something, a pair of tongs of some sort, and just break them off forcefully, but I like to use my soldering iron so that the least amount of damage is done, and then I can just pull them off. Removing them and then soldering pots to these two little connectors, these three connectors here, like so, will allow you to control the speed instead of having the set speed that these come with. I did that in the other video where I built this pedal, and I'm going to do it in this one again. But obviously I'm also going to do it to this board, so that I've done it to all four. Okay, so now we're going to do a thing, and I want to be super clear with you right now. This is a choice that I'm making and that I've decided for myself that I want to experiment with and try out. and that I'm not saying that you have to do, but you can do it if you want to. I already have this pedal right here, and I want this that I'm building now to be a little bit different, and it's going to be different in a couple of ways. I'm not gonna have a feedback. You can, if you want to, put in a feedback control, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the feedback on these to the amount of feedback that I want this pedal to have constantly. It might sound weird, but basically there is a sweet spot, and you will have to decide for yourself if you're going to do this, where that sweet spot is, where it's feedbacking enough that it feels like the pedal is kind of dreamy and softer, and the delays are sort of more fluffy or blurry or whatever you want to call it. I know that I'm maybe not explaining this in the best way, but when you're using this feedback control here, you can either have no feedback and you will just get delays, and they're sort of perfect delays of each other, you know, like bom, 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 bom. They're replicating. Or you can start pushing this in and everything gets sort of mushed together. Or you can pull it all the way and you can just have you know, a mess of a wall of sound and everything is going crazy and all of that. So what I did was that I played this pedal and I set this control to where I like it to be. And I ended up on 15.24K when I measured this pot, because that's what I did. I set it to taste, played through the pedal, you know, spent a couple of hours doing it, getting really sure about what I liked, and I found it to be roughly 15.24K when I measured the pot. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a couple of resistors to these boards, and those resistors will be that value and mush the sound up and blurry it out and make it more something, because I'm trying to make this pedal different and a little bit weird maybe even, and what I'm going to do to make them even more different from each other so that the left and the right aren't perfect matches is I'm putting in two 7.5K resistors on this one on this and one on this, and then on this one I'm going to put in a 5.1K, and on the other one I'm putting in a 10K, and so they will be a little bit different. And to do this, what we need are two resistors. I'm going to do this board right here, and then I'll do the other one off camera, but it's just the same thing. I'm just doing different values. Just so you understand what I'm saying, because I realize that this might seem weird to someone. I mean, you can just put in a pot like I did in the other video, but I'm trying to make these a little bit different, so that's why I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to add these resistors, and it's going to be a little bit fiddly to do, and you're going to be a little bit possibly frustrated. But I'm going to add a little bit of flux to them. Just run them through my flux, like so. And I'm going to just try to smear it out there on this connection right here. And then I'm going to use just pre-tin have a little bit of solder on, and I'm gonna just try to get a connection like so. And now that's there in place, and I'll try to do the other one as well, like so they're connected there to that one there. And I'm just gonna pull them over, make sure they are not touching anything else. I'll cut these legs down to size a little bit so that they don't stick out too much, and they're gonna get pulled over like so, and I'm gonna put them up to the edge sort of like this. And then when we're sure that it's lying in a way where it's not problematic, we can bend this other leg over and get it to the middle right there. I hope you can see it. That's where we're gonna attach it. So I take it, I hold it up, I take the leg, or at least I try to. It's a little bit hard. And I try to keep the resistor lying in its place, because obviously I don't want it to go everywhere. Then I hold it up to the middle leg there, take my soldering iron, and I take a little bit of solder, and I'm just gonna try to press it down in place. And then you have them there, just connecting that transistor, and then I'll cut these legs off so that they don't stick out and touch anything that I don't want them to touch. There you have it. The pots are back in their place, just jumper cables, putting them back in their place. And then we also have the little resistors in place on both the boards. Here's the other one, so that we get that little bit of feedback that I want. And then over here, you can see the 3 connections here. They are going to get connected to a pot, just like so. Blop, blop, and blop. Here you can see one pot and another pot. And I connected them to the back side. I hope that's going to work out for me. Think it's going to do. But it's basically those 3 legs there and those 3 legs there. Just I connected them to the back. This is the output. These 2 connections on the back here. And I'm going to add this wire here to that. I'm going to try to make sure that, because I'm using 2 black wires that stick together, that I use the one with the line on, which I hope you can see that one of them have, as the ground. So if I put it up like this, I can see that that one is the ground. So I'm just going to quickly solder this 2 wires to this 2 connections here. And the reason why is because I don't really know how the wires that are going in, how they're going to go and how they're going to look and everything like that, how long they're going to be. But I do know that these wires that come out of it, they're going to go to the in on this one right there. And so I know that. So I'm going to solder them to this one as well. And then we're going to start fiddling with putting things in. Okay, so here is the pedal right now. And I understand if this looks like chaos to some of you, but don't worry. We will fix it. There is the LED. Here are the 2 outputs. One up there. I hope you can see it. It's right there. And one down here. And then we have the input right there. If it feels like it's wrong, it's because you have to think about it being flipped around. So this side will be this side once it's turned over. You know, like so. And I know if you look at it now, you're like, oh my god, what happened to the paint? When I started drilling into it, the paint went away. And yeah, I'm gonna have to repaint this, but I'm thinking that maybe I'll do that later and I'll do an update with a new nice paint job and everything once I know what I want it to look like anyway. The only thing I haven't put in is what's going right here. And I'm gonna show it to you real quick. Here it is. This is the switch for this pedal. And this is a 4P DT switch. Okay? And it basically stands for 4 pull and double throw. That means 2 clicks. It can be pulled from one side or another. And 4 is just how many switches there are. So I hope that makes sense. You can see it's the same thing basically as the one we always use, which is a 3 PDT, except it has an extra row. And that's because we're going to have 2 rows for the out. And we're going to wire it up in a second. First, I'm going to just take this switch, unscrew these, and put it into that hole there. So it's in place. So before we jump too much ahead, we have to solder these in place. And they're going here to the input. It's going to be hard to see, but right there it says in. So out goes to in. And it's super easy. You just take a little bit of solder and I'm going to attach them to the underside because I think that's going to be good. So I'm just going to pull these over here. And as you remember from before, the middle is the ground and the gray wire is the ground. And then we have 2 more right here that are going to be attached over here. So now that both of those are in place, basically the idea is that the guitar is going to go in to this board, come out, go into this board, come out from this board, go in here and come out here. And so you're going to be able to control whatever comes out of this through this thing here. And hopefully get at least one good sound out of this thing. Okay, so let's start putting this switch in. I have already put one from the input jack, the one up here. I've already put that in to the middle leg right there. And now I'm going to first start off with the first wire that is going to be connecting to the upper jack, the one up in the first corner. If you want to, you can also use a stereo jack and just put one of these to the left and the other one to the right. And so the first one is getting connected here to this leg right there. The next one is getting connected to this leg right here. So the green one I'm pulling over here and connecting here to this one. And the other one I'm going to pull through under here and up to this jack and connect to the lead right there. Like so. Perfectly connected. That means that the switch now has both these two wires in the middle going to each jack. Just like this one. One row for each jack. In, out, and out. And one jack can be the left and one can be the right. Okay, so you see this weird little cable that I have here. It's really strange because it's super long on one side and uneven in its shape. I'm going to take this leg here and I'm going to put it into this leg right here. I'll come in with my snippers and just take off the little bit that is sticking out. And then I'm going to fiddle with this cable here, and it's super hard to do. I'm going to press it in here through this leg, pull it through the two legs like so, and now we can solder it in place. And then you can see that little excess that hangs out. We're just going to cut that off. And now this means, so I just explain what I've done, that the guitar will come in here and go down here and go up here and be connected to these two, and that means be connected to these two. So when in bypass, you can use both these jacks that these two cables are connected to. And then we're going to wire up the boards up here. So when you press it down, your signal goes up here and goes to the boards and come down to here. But we're not really there just yet. But you know the drill by now, hopefully. This one gets connected here and then pulled over here, tucked under like so, and pulled here, and then pushed into the first leg here like so, and soldered in place as well. Next part is taking this lead wire from the LED and putting it in here into this middle leg right here. Can be a little bit fiddly, but with a great lot of patience and even more solder, you will get it there eventually. Like so. There it is now, neatly tucked in, like so. And then I'm taking a resistor. This is a 1K resistor. You don't have to use a 1K if you don't want to. You can use, for example, a 3.3 or a 2.2. You do whichever one you like or want. And that is going to get connected to a wire and put into the DC, but we're going to leave the switch for now a little bit. The pedal comes in here and it comes out here, and then it needs to go to the switch. So down here by the switch, we'll put the first out into this one. That means that this first part of the pedal here will go to this yellow jack up here. And then we take the other one and we put it in here to this leg right there. Again, just in case someone is having issues. We will have wires here that goes to the pedal's input, and they will come back out here. And this one will be connected to the green one, and this blue one here will be connected to the yellow one. Come out through the jigs. So that's the in of the first board. And both pedals, or whatever you want to call it, both sides, maybe you want to say that, will have an in. So you'll have to do this to both sides. On the in, we're going to connect an input, just like so. There we have the wire, and I'm pulling it like so. Down here, they are going to meet up. So this one is getting pulled there, and here comes the wire from the other input. We're going to pre-tin this wire, and then we're going to put these two wires together. And this first leg here, that's where we're going to put them in, both of them. So I know this looks confusing, but basically your guitar comes in here. If bypassed, it will go here, be connected to both of these, go up here, go to the two jacks. But if you press it down, it will go up here, two cables, go to both the first boards. Then it will jump into the next boards, and then into these little EQ things, and then come back down here. And the first board will go to this one, and the second board will go to this one, EQ boards then. And they will both be connected down here to these two and go to separate jacks. There you have it. The only thing left to do is we need a plus and a minus going to the DC. I put in the plus and the minus for the LED, but that's the minus wire there and the plus wire that comes from the resistor here. So, wow. Let's do that real quick. So, here it is right now. I connected the two boards, the two separate boards, with these two jumper cables. And then from one of them here, I have this cable here. And now I'm just going to attach it over here to this jack. And the bare wire is the ground. And so I'm connecting it over here together with the other ground. And the white wire here is the lead. So I'm going to try and hold it in place. Okay, so we have one last thing we have to do. I know there's a lot of things you have to do to build this thing, but hopefully it's worth it. But there's one last thing we have to do, and that is we need to ground everything to the enclosure. Everything is grounded and everything works the way it's supposed to, or at least I hope it is, but it has to be grounded also to itself, like the actual enclosure. So I'm gonna put a ground wire here, like so, and I'm gonna pull it all the way over here to this jack right here, and that way everything is gonna be grounded. Now I'm just quickly gonna take my multimeter and go through and make sure everything is connected. So I'll just take it and I'm just gonna hold this here and feel around and see if I get some sounds at all the ground points. And I do, but I don't get any in the switch, for example, but I can follow with the lead as well. Seems like everything is the way it's supposed to be. And so now all we have to do is find a lot of knobs. As you can probably tell, this thing here needs a lot of knobs. I'm also going to put down a bit of tape so that you know which jack and things is what. I would obviously probably maybe perhaps make labels and things, but I don't think there is any point in doing that right now because, as you can see, the box is in a very bad shape, which is a shame, but it's okay. These controls on the upper row is for the amount of the pedal. So basically, if I want to fade it in or fade it out, I have a lot of it, or if I want some bypass signal. It's not true bypass because it's going through this, but it's basically how much of the delay is going to be present and how little. And then these are going to be the speeds as well. Hopefully this is going to be fun. So now you know what happens. I'm going to set up the amp and we're going to play it. Here it is now. Wow! Yeah! And before we jump into listening to it and playing it and, you know, seeing what it sounds like. Yes. Sorry. I'm never going to stop saying that because it's too much fun. There's a couple of things I want to tell you because I changed them afterwards. I've already played the pedal a little bit, which is not the way I usually do it, but I did it and I noticed a couple of things that I changed around. So I just want to tell you, just in case you're trying to build this thing or you're thinking about building it after you've seen this video and you are like, oh yes, I want it. And you're ordering things or ready to order things, and I just want to stop you before you do. The first thing is, these are not connected. We're going to listen to the pedal, and you're not going to see me touch these because they are crap. Don't buy them. Or at least, if you're going to build this thing, don't buy them. Because they are cutting the signal from these chips things here in half, basically. The pedal is getting really, really quiet. Even at max, the volume turned to max, it's not enough. So I quickly took them out of the circuit and got a lot of the volume back, and now it works much better. These chips are quieter than the true bypass signal, which is one of the reasons why when you listen to the other video, the one where I am playing this pedal, and you think it has more noise. Well, it's because the volume level by the limiter is raising all the sound, and that includes all the noise. It might not be the perfect way of doing videos about pedals and showing you what they sound like and things like that, but I really want to do as little as I can to change the sound, because I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not here to tell you what to do or what to build. I'm just showing you stuff, and some of you are going to want to do it and some of you are not going to want to do it, and some of you are going to think, this sucks, I don't ever want to see this dude again, and some are going to be like, well, he's doing fun experiments and having fun and being creative and sharing that with me, and I like that, and I approve of sharing fun things with people. I don't know where I'm going. So these are no longer in the pedal, the two EQ things, and I'm gonna make a video experimenting with putting these with an LM board, just because the LM board is so much louder that maybe it will sort of even it out. We will see in another video what happens. But for this delay thing, don't use them for this. Just don't. They are not They're not boosting the signal in any way, they're just cutting things in the signal. So, yeah. Another thing is, you saw in the video that I put in resistors and had those instead of the feedback. And I feel like that was a stupid idea. And that I should have just put in a feedback knob. Because in stereo, it's not a good idea. It's just way too much. I thought that it was a good idea, and when I plug in just one amp, they work fine, so it's not bad to do the way I did in this video, but in stereo it's just getting too loud and too much, and it's just becoming this thing that I don't like it. So for my own personal, you know, which is nothing, no, but for my personal preference, I took them out, basically. So when we listen to this, there are no resistors modeling, or whatever you want to call it, the feedback thing in and giving you just a little bit of feedback. I might experiment with putting them back in, just a completely different value and have a lot less, because 15k on each side is just too much. I might go with like 5 or 4 or something like that, but most likely I think I'm just going to give them feedback control knobs so that I can set it to taste, like I did in the other pedal. I think that's better. I think that's cooler. I just didn't really want this pedal to be, you know, the same thing as that pedal, and now it's kind of the same thing, but I'm probably going to return to this at some point and do something weird with it and change something around and go crazy and do what I can to make it into something else than the other pedal, because I don't need 2 versions of the same pedal. So yeah. Lastly, just because I feel like I have to tell you, because I want to be as honest as I can, I think it's this pot here on number 1 that is broken. There's something wrong with it, and I don't have a replacement pot as of now. It works, you will listen to it, it will work, but it's a little crackly and weird, the pot, and so I'm not going to be turning it around and things like that. So you're going to get a demo of the pedal, but I've sort of set it to a sound that I think is sort of cool. And that's the sound we're going to listen to, and that's the sound we're going to play. And I'm just going to noodle around on the guitar for a couple of minutes, and hopefully you're going to get inspired. I am going to replace the pot, I just don't have the time to get a pot for this video to be done, and I've already worked a long time on making this video, and I can't spend more time on it right now. But when I come back to this pedal and repaint it and fix all the things and probably change things around in the circuit and stuff, we're also going to switch out the pot and make it perfect. There is a little bit of noise in the pedal, which you're probably going to be able to hear, but at some point I'm going to look into how to get rid of that, and we'll see what happens. And yeah. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you got inspired to at least do something fun yourself. Doesn't have to be building something that I'm showing you. It could just be, you know, inspired to paint or something like that. But anyway, I hope this video was fun and interesting and got your creative flowing juices going. But anyway, that's the end. Thanks so much for watching. And if you're new here, please press the subscribe button. According to my analytics, about 95% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed, which means I would have a lot more subscribers and a lot more views, and everything would go up extreme amounts if you all subscribed. So, if you haven't subscribed and you're actually at least somewhat enjoying my videos, don't forget to press the subscribe button. Like the video if you liked it, and talk to me in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Until next time, stay awesome and cool, and go and experiment with building this weird stereo pedal. Or any other pedal in stereo. You could make one of those LM board fuzz things in stereo, for example, if you want to. Alright? Alright. Bye.